you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, Sherelle. And thank you everyone for coming on this morning or afternoon or evening to listen to our presentations. We're happy that you're here. As Sherelle has said, my name is Maydis Skeete, and I was a caregiver to my mother for 6.5 years. I began my caregiving journey while working full-time as a healthcare administration. Now, I know those of you who are in healthcare or have been in healthcare, you understand and know that healthcare means that there are long hours and the work can sometimes be just overwhelming. Well, I cared for my mother while she was in her home, and she lives over an hour away from me. But before I get into the heart of my story, I want to start out by asking a question. Do you remember as a child being told to eat your vegetables, sit up properly, go to bed so that you can get some sleep and you'll be alert the next day for school? Well, some of you probably are even telling your children that, or maybe your grandchildren now. But the question is, why do we tell our children such? It's because we know it's for their good. We know that these things will help them grow and be strong and will help them presently and also for their future, because we want our children and our grandchildren to thrive and to be healthy mentally and physically. Well, I'm here to tell you that those same principles are parallel to the self-care for caregivers. You know, life is unpredictable. We don't know what may happen from one day to the next. Our plans may be upset. Goals that we set for ourselves may not happen. And probably most of you who are on this conference with us today, probably if you're family caregivers, that's not something that you probably signed up for. You weren't standing in line to do that. We know from statistics that many of us will play a part in caregiving in our lifetime, especially with Americans living longer and people getting older and our parents are aging. We probably would end up being a caregiver, or we have been a caregiver, or we know someone who is a caregiver. I mean, there's no way of getting around it. Caregiving is here to stay. So today, what I want to share with you are three learning principles I call that I learned as a caregiver. And I'm calling my presentation my wake-up calls, okay? So my caregiving experience started in 2013 when my mother fell. She fell in her home and she fractured her spine. It was a pretty bad fracture. She was no longer able to walk after that. Now, my mother was coherent, so it wasn't that she had dementia or anything. She had all of her faculties, but she could do nothing for herself. So I was the only child. There were four of us. My mother had 4 children. I was the only one who lived in the same state as my mother. And although we all were devastated at the situation, we came together and it was decided, and I gladly took on the responsibility of being my mother's primary caregiver. We decided that she would stay in her home because of all the options. That seemed to have been the best one. It would given her the ability to be able to stay in her own habitat, to see her neighbors around the area. She could do that, and just be in the close area of where her church members were. So I took on the responsibility gladly. I was happy to be my mother's caregiver, and my brothers renovated the house so that it was wheelchair accessible. And I mentioned to you earlier that I worked a full-time job as a healthcare administrator. Well, I also ran a home-based business. I'm married to an evangelist. I worked in the church and I volunteered for Habitat. So did you think I have enough to do? I sure did. And then I became a caregiver. But I thought I could handle it. Now, on Friday evenings, I would leave work, drive to my mother's house, and then I would begin my weekend practice of going to the grocery store and shopping and cooking for the week and dispensing medicine, running errands, getting up at night to take care of her, and trying to spend some quality time with her, and on and on and on. Then I would leave on Sunday, going back to my home Sunday evening so I could get ready for work on Monday. And as time went on, I began to be famished. I wasn't eating right. But you know what? I had not been eating right prior to becoming a caregiver. I told you that my life as a healthcare administrator was really pretty hectic. It was actually a very stressful job. And as I look back on it, I probably let it be more stressful than what I really needed to be. So there were many times I'm in meetings or I'm running from one meeting or I'm putting out one fire to the next. And so I wouldn't eat lunch or I would eat the right thing. Or when I did get to eat, I would be famished. Or I'd have to run to my home-based business network meeting, get home later at night at 9 o'clock. What do I eat? Oh, peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something like that. You know, I really wasn't taking care of myself. Staying up late at night, doing reports, or sometimes just not wanting to go to bed, being a bedtime procrastinator. Trying to exercise hit and miss, but really not doing it very well. You see, I really wasn't taking care of myself before becoming a caregiver. So when I became a caregiver, I was under even more stress. So one day I was running on the treadmill and I experienced this stabbing pain in my chest. I lowered the grade of the treadmill and the pain subsided. So I completed my workout. I felt okay for the rest of that evening. But I remembered that 3 weeks prior to that, I'd had that same episode to happen when I ran across the street to catch a bus. Now, Michigan has cold winters. So I just, said, well, the air was cold, so I probably breathed in some air and my lungs didn't like it. But this time I thought maybe I should go and have it checked out. I know I'm pretty healthy, but let me just go and get it checked out just in case something is up. I want to tell you that was a wake-up call. Because when I went to the doctor and she sent me directly to ER and they ran a battery of tests, it came out that I had a 90% blockage in my widowmaker, the LAD. Now, they call it a widowmaker for a reason because one thing, if you have a heart attack, you're generally just dead. I was devastated. I'm serious. I was blown out of the world, basically. I'm thinking, how does this happen to me? I mean, I'm a vegetarian. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I'm taking care of my mom. I mean, I'm doing a lot of stuff, but I'm, not that bad off. Well, I spent a lot of time in prayer because I believe that prayer works wonders. And I believe that God will give you answers. And during that time in prayer, as I was convalescing, it became very clear to me. It became very clear to me that I was not following the Creator's plan for mankind and what we are supposed to do, how we are supposed to take care of ourselves. And that's what I call guilt-free self-care. Now, I know it sounds simplistic because these are the things that we talk about all the time, eat your fruits and vegetables, get enough sleep, or get exercise, but it's very important. I mean, I want to stress that to you more than anything else today. Whether you are a caregiver now or you will be a caregiver in the future. Because as I said before, life is unpredictable. You need to take care of yourself. Practice that guilt-free self-care that is so easy for us to neglect. It is important. Nothing in life, the job and nothing else, is going to take care of you when you're sick. So do it now. This is a prevention plan that I want to bring to people, that this is the way that we should live, taking care of ourselves. If we don't take care of ourselves first, we will not be able to take care of our loved ones. And not only that, if we take care of ourselves first, it'll help us to do a much better job. So that's my first wake-up call. And I mentioned that and talk in detail about it in my book that I wrote, which is Self-Care for the Caregiver, a guilt-free way to love yourself while caring for others. But number two, I want to go on to number two because that has to do with building healthy boundaries. That was my second wake-up call. As once I became a caregiver, I had to learn to say no. I mentioned to you earlier that I was involved in various committees and I was on several boards at work and at church. And I guess these things make me feel important. But you know what? When I became a caregiver, I had to give up some of that stuff. I had to only do the things that I could adequately handle. You have to be on guard and you must be insightful as to what you can handle successfully and what things rob you of valuable rest and negative circumstances. I want to give you the example of building a swimming pool. If you wanted to install a swimming pool, you wouldn't have the contractors to just dig a hole in the ground and then fill it up with water, would you? Of course not. That they would end up putting down some barriers like plastic, steel, concrete, maybe some ceramic tile or whatever on the bottom and around the periphery. Now, why would they do that? Because they want to keep the clean air in. That's where you're going to relax and swim. Clean water. Keep the clean water in where you can relax and you can swim. But at the same time, you want to keep out the dirt and the debris and the worms and things. That's the way it is with life and in caregiving especially. We want to be able to keep in those things that are adding value, the things that are important in your life. Keep those in place so that you can do your best work. And at the same time, keep out those unimportant things. Every successful person that I've read about had boundaries, and caregivers need to have boundaries. So that was step number 2, my wake-up call. Now, the last one you've already heard some of the people speak about. Dr. Goodman said it. Monica Stewart said it. I'm going to say it again. Get help. When I first started my caregiving experience, I thought that I could handle this challenge with the assistance of a couple of good friends, a couple of church members, and I learned very quickly that I needed help. I needed to build a coalition of helpers who I could call upon for various situations. Caregivers need help. I can't stress that more than enough. So don't be too proud to say, oh, I can do it. I don't need any help. We're doing okay. Because you know what? You need respite time. You need help. There are times that you just need to be by yourself. And you need to bring in other family members and other people to let them know that I need your help. Learn about the resources and the agencies that are available. Those of you who are here today in this conference, this is a great resource. There are a lot of people here who have some valuable information. Monica mentioned about talking about wills and trust and the advanced directives. I'm going to echo that. You need to get those things in place. And you know, if you're not a caregiver, it's a good thing to get those in place now, because when the time comes, it will be so much of a relief. That's one stressor that's off of you. Think of things that you need to do that to just put things together. Agencies. I worked a lot with Area Agency on Aging, and they were helpful with helping people to come in to do her hygiene and things like that. The main thing I want to say here is get the help that you need. And that includes even if you need mental health. Sometimes we don't know it, but you may just need to get with a social worker or your physician or someone so that you can stay mentally as well as physically strong. So I want you to keep this information in mind as you go through your caregiving journey. And again, I want to share with you my book. I'm going to put that in the chat where you can find it on Barnes and Nobles. It's Self-Care for the Caregivers, a guilt-free way to love yourself while caring for others. Those are my 3 things that I want to share with you today. I'm so excited and happy that you allowed me to share. And I just wish that God bless you in all of your caregiving experience. And those who are helpers, thank you so much. And thank all of you for the work that you do.